Okay, hi folks, welcome to a crossover episode we are calling the Little Admirals Table of Horrors. Woo! I have with me here in the studio, wink, from the Little Pot of Horrors podcast, Goggs, hello sir.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
And the mighty Boz, greetings.
Hello.
And we have decided to join forces during the summer hiatus here when some of us have a little more time to spare in the afternoons than normal to join forces and talk about a franchise that really applies to both of our shows. And that is the wonderful, the terrible, the meh Alien franchise. And
Meh? Really?
Well,
Meh?
some of them are meh.
Yeah, it's true.
They
Okay.
run the whole gamut if we take into account the Alien versus Predator stuff and Prometheus. Although
Very true.
that's terrible. There's a story behind this. Goggs, would you like to explain the genesis of this conversation?
Going back many, many years and many, many beers ago. Yes, I guess it was my idea originally, I suppose, on the Pod of Horrors, way back when Andrew and I decided to kind of spend a weekend together with God knows how many beers, and the whole plan was to watch every version of Alien.
At the time, there were only 4.
Yes. Well, yeah, there was there, and Alien versus Predator, I think, was the first one.
Yeah,
I don't think the
yeah.
second one had came out, but it was the regular theatrical versions and director's cut, and hopefully compare, contrast, and do everything. So that was the plan over the weekend, going from a Friday night all the way through the Sunday. And I think on a Sunday afternoon we dialed you in, sir, and probably proceeded to drink a case of beer during that conversation.
I think you guys were already well ahead of me when I joined in.
Quite
and,
possibly, yes.
I drank an entire bottle of wine during the conversation. I sort of
Yes.
remember the end of that show.
Yeah, I can't remember much of it. And then unfortunately that was the show that got lost because it was on my backup when I came over to the States. So my hope was to record it and, edit it and send it out when I got over here, but all my shows and backups disappeared. And we couldn't recover it. And
that was
I can't remember.
4 hours of drunken rambling. It was a lot of fun. I have no idea how coherent it was. I know that my wife took our stepdaughter and went out to leave me alone to podcast. And when she came home and found us still going, she was quite amused.
Yeah, it would be
you were lucky.
interesting. It would be very interesting if that did manage to make it a reappearance somehow, just to see
would
just
be
how
awesome.
coherent it was. But yeah, unfortunately, I've tried and tried and tried, and it's just irrecoverable, apparently, according to IT experts. So
Alas. But we had fun. And
yes, we did.
and we've been trying to recreate that event to some extent ever since. And this seemed like a perfect opportunity. And we are only too happy to have Boz in on the game.
Yay.
Now, since this is also a Little Pot of Horrors episode, before we get too deep into aliens, would you like to talk about The Ring?
Oh, going there, are we?
What? That was blindsided.
Absolutely. I thought he was going to say the Knights of Badassdom. But
Oh, I just saw
okay.
that too. Did you finally see it?
I did see it, yes.
What'd you think?
It was not easy to find. I loved it.
Yeah. It is not by any stretch a good movie, but it's a fucking load of fun.
I was actually really pleased to see that it had such a high splat count, and I thought, it easily qualifies for a Pod of Horrors review.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that, and the monster at the end is fantastically, brilliantly, cheesily, craply done. I loved it.
Yeah. It was one
And
of
having
those,
spent some
that's where
time
a lot
with
of your budget went, was to that.
Yeah.
Oh man, it looked like
An
something that
answer to
escaped
the
from Jim
shrooms.
Henson's. But yeah, I it was one of those. If you're not familiar with the Knights of Badassdom, folks, a couple years ago, this movie was made. It's basically a LARP gone bad, and the trailer has been floating around the internet forever, but they couldn't get it distributed. It has Peter Dinklage in it and Summer Glau. With her +3 ass of perfection, which I think was one of the greatest lines ever.
Rightly called out. It's clearly a +6, but anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it's a bunch of LARPers, LARP being live action role playing, if you're not familiar with the term, who get together for a weekend. It's basically live action D&D, and one of them has found this arcane book and is using it to pretend to cast spells, but instead he summons a demon into the real world, and it then just goes around munching campers and LARPers and stuff. It's hilarious.
Yeah. With some lovely splattery, gory effects, which is fun.
Yeah. But no, the Ring, it didn't scare me.
No.
Really? No. And it may just be because pretty much everything that's supposed to be scary in it it's already been outdone by CSI and Bones and pretty much anything you can see on the procedurals nowadays, except for the supernatural aspect of it, and that has been so done to death. The whole creepy motions and stuff like that, and the scary girl. It just, maybe if I'd have seen it when it came out, it would have scared the crap out of me. But now that the look, the feel, and everything about it has been so parodied that I was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Interesting. I mean, there's no real big shock moments in it.
There's a couple of jump scares,
creeping dread towards the end, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know why I thought it was worse than it is. I think, it's just a little flash of the girl in the closet. I found her, and, the look on her face, kind of thing. That freaked me out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess so. I mean, I remember when I watched it, I was quite weirded out by it. But
I mean, it was certainly creepy, and I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but aside from being slightly uneasy that night after watching it. Now, granted, I watched it in the afternoon again. Like I said, there's no way I'm going to watch these things at 10 at night out here in my office by myself, and then try to move around the empty, quiet house while everyone's asleep. But I mean, I'm glad I watched it. It wasn't like Shark Night where it was like, oh my God, will this movie end, please? But it also felt rushed. I'm really tempted to watch Ringu because I feel like there were things missing, like when the father kills himself conveniently right as our protagonist finds him. There was, I mean, yes, the concept was creepy, especially once you figured out why the girl was there, and the fact that it doesn't end all happy and a nice nicely tied up in a little bow was a nice thing. I think it's
Japanese for you.
Yeah, I think it's a matter. It was the same thing with The Woman in Black, where your protagonist does everything you think they're supposed to do, yet it doesn't work. Are the sequels worth watching?
Is there sequels?
Is there sequels? Or I know there's at least one more.
I haven't watched any sequel.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I have seen Ring 2. All I can say is there's so little residual information in my brain that possibly it's not all that good.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, the best thing in addition to The Ring, actually, and because it's been a while since I saw it, my brain had told me that these scenes were in the movie, and they're not at all. But if you get the DVD of it, there's an additional side film. I think it's called Rings, and it's basically it's a short film, and it's about a bunch of kids who get hold of the tape, and basically they see how many days they can last before they make somebody else watch the tape, and obviously the curse then passes on. And it's about a guy who can't. His next in line doesn't want to do it. I shouldn't say any more than that because it would totally spoil it if you go and see the short. So okay. I would look it up. It's on the DVD as standard. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. But that's probably more creepy than the rest of the film that precedes it. So
okay, yeah, I really think the Ring requires that you be unfamiliar with the tropes of the movie for it to be really really scary. And unfortunately, even as disconnected from the horror community as I am, they've become so pervasive that the creepy girl oozing out of the TV and the weird sped up motions and stuff. I've seen it all before, so it didn't. And actually, even when I'd seen it before, it never that never hit me. That never really hit any sort of creep nerves in me.
You didn't even get anything from The Child in Danger. That didn't tug at anything.
No, because it was already over.
Okay.
I thought it would. I was worried about it.
Yeah.
But I also knew that as at the point at which this film was made, I really didn't think they would kill the kid.
Right.
And in fact, when she was like, "Oh, why did you watch it?" I was like, "Really?" I was like, "This really feels manufactured." How many 3-year-olds or 6-year-olds or whatever just grab an unmarked tape and slap it into the VCR? I don't know. I like I said, I didn't dislike it, but it certainly was not. And maybe it was the buildup because you guys are like, "Oh, he's gonna have trouble," and fucking Rich was like, "You're gonna watch The Ring? Oh God, go put on diapers, dude. You're gonna,
Yeah.
And then I watched it. I was like, "All right, yeah, creepy." Night of the Living Dead fucked with me more than The Ring did, actually.
Well, I suppose the point here is you enjoyed the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't scare you.
Yeah, it just did. Yeah, it just didn't scare me.
Okay,
So,
welcome to the world of being a horror fan.
Yes.
Because the whole purpose of this was you were shrinky dicking out of watching films,
Uh-huh.
and we're like, horror's a great genre. There's something for everyone, and the mission was to get you on that page. When I realised that, yeah, as long as you've got guidance going in,
yeah,
like Oculus, for example, I think you'll fucking love that movie. And the little scares that you do get and the bits that freak you out, they give you this little adrenaline rush, and you end up loving horror as a result.
okay.
So I think we're winning here. We just
Well,
gotta.
I watched Night of the Living Dead. Well, not just cause, but I wanted to listen to the movies you should see about it.
Yeah.
But it's been, we've had, the DVD. Of course, it's public domain. So I think my wife picked it up I think they paid her to take it.
Yeah.
So it's been sitting around here forever, and I've seen Dawn of the Dead way back in '82. I think I mentioned that a friend of mine. I was 18 years old at the University of Florida, and they were showing it at a midnight showing in Gainesville. And my friend Guthrum, which is actually his name, he's an SCA guy, but he legally changed his name to his SCA name.
Cool.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. He's a veterinarian out in California now.
Did he have an ounce of killer shrooms? Sorry.
Even my wife was going, "You don't eat those, do you?" No. Puking your ass out. I love that. I can hear the night air on my skin.
Yeah.
Peter Dinklage is awesome.
He is.
But he convinced me to go with him to this midnight show of Dawn of the Dead, and I only remember 3 scenes from it. Really, I remember at the very beginning there's a scene where there's a black couple, and the husband or I guess it really doesn't matter. No, I think it's the husband sees his wife, runs over and embraces her, and she just bites this huge chunk out of his shoulder. I may have that reversed, but anyway. And then the scene where the soldier gets his guts ripped open.
Oh, right.
And then the helicopter slicing the head off the top of the top of the head off the zombie.
Oh, that is brilliant.
And I remember that one as looking like I did the special effect. I just remember this big, built-up, almost papier-mâché skull that it sliced off. But then I had to, of course, at the time, it just scared the shit out of me. And then I had to ride my bike back to my dorm through dark, they called it the student ghetto, they probably still do, dark streets with lots of trees. And I was sure there was a zombie behind every tree. It was the longest 1.5 miles I've ever ridden in my life. But Night of the Living Dead was so much better, although less consistent. We could do a whole show about that. But
I'll put my confession out there that I fell asleep after 10 minutes, and I never really went back and watched it.
Yeah,
it's to get to Gordon.
Yeah, if you're tuning into Night of the Living Dead looking for something along the lines of Dawn of the Dead or any of the movies that follow it, you're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
It's very much something you have to consider in the context of the time it was made and the fact that it started the whole thing. Because I mean, there's inconsistencies in some zombies just. Well, first of all, they're called ghouls. Very clearly, very frequently in the film, they're called ghouls. Nobody calls them zombies. I thought the whole tie-in with the crash satellite was something that was just a throwaway line that nobody picked up on. No, that's right in your face. Yep. It's very obvious. And then sometimes the zombies kill people and eat them. Well, actually, no, they never kill anyone and eat them. You never see that. You see them finding like dead people and eating them, or you see them kill people and then wander off.
Yeah.
But in Night of the Living Dead, I've not one scene of the zombies killing somebody and then eating. Now, of course, Barbara or Deborah, or whatever the blonde chick's name is, gets dragged out into them. We never see what happens to her. But like when the little girl kills her mother in the basement. Well, first of all, she stabs her to death, which seems a lot of thought for a zombie. And then she doesn't do anything. She just stabs her to death and then goes upstairs.
Well, the genre rules hadn't been written yet, It's early days, and
yeah. So I mean, but it's the Clerks of the zombie movies.
yes,
It's very obvious that it was a bunch of young filmmakers with about $50 between them trying to make this movie, and it's an excellent film, but it does have some consistency problems.
Well, you've made our job very easy because you've taken us down a cul-de-sac here, and we realised that the spooky side of things isn't going to cut it. We need to move to the next level. So me and Gordon have been Skype chatting behind your back here, and we have decided.
I thought I was off the hook for this.
We have decided that your next challenge. Go on, Gordon. You tell him.
Sticking along similar lines, is going to be a remake though.
Okay.
And it's going to be the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Okay.
By Zack Snyder.
Yes.
2008, I think, off the top of my head. Might be wrong.
You're probably not far off there, actually. And don't hold the fact that Zack Snyder against it.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as none of the zombies are in like little stripper panties. Oh wait, that's Nolan, isn't it? No, Snyder did Superman Returns, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that though. I fear if I put it on, then I'm going to hear a knock on the door that it'll be Karen outside, and she's going to kill me. So
it's worth seeing to have seen it, and it's not like it's one of those movies like Star Trek Into Darkness where I enjoyed it while I was watching it, and then after I left the theater and started thinking about it and started talking about it with people, it just fell apart.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. It's not hard. It's not painful to watch. It's actually kind of fun to watch. For the most part, it's just kind of them trying to recreate the Christopher Reeve, Gene Hackman kind of Superman and not doing it very well. Although Brandon Routh does a fantastic Christopher Reeve impression.
I mean, I had no desire to see it again, and I was faced with the opportunity the other week. I was at my parents' place there away. I was using it as a hotel, basically. And I had my free DVD that I received with my new subscription to Scream magazine.
Oh, cool.
Which I thought they'd send me a horror movie. Apparently not.
What?
So they sent me a film called Revenge for Jolly.
What?
Yeah. And it basically stars the guy as in a supporting role who was recently in that Llewellyn Davis movie, which was shite, by the way. He was good, but the film was shite. My opinion, I'm entitled to it. And
who is Llewellyn Davis?
Oh, Inside Llewellyn Davis is a Coen Brothers movie about folk singers. You can imagine how exciting that is for someone like me. No boobs, no explosions, no blood, no guns, no zombies, no death. Yeah, it wasn't. Anyway.
It's not so joke in a movie, boys.
Yeah, okay. So this Revenge for Jolly is better than Inside Llewellyn Davis. And the performances are sound. And there's some big names in it. And it's great, but it's not great because it's... I didn't get it. I just got to the end and I went, what was the point and all that? And it's basically the weird bloke who this film follows, his small miniature pincher, which is his life. His other half, he lives with this dog. He's into some bad stuff, you realise, probably drug running, something like that. And he goes to see his friend and he's like, yeah, I'm in trouble. I'm gonna leave town, or this kind of thing. Goes back to his trailer. Goes back to his trailer, and his poor little Doberman pincher is hanging by its neck in the window. Now that upset me. Okay, so there was the horror element. He then basically goes on a gun-toting rage to take out all the people that killed his dog. Now, okay, see, I would be able to sympathise with this, being such a dog person, but I didn't. And I watched it, but I was like, nah. But the point is, I chose to put that on, seeing from the cover that it was a complete B movie, when there was a Blu-ray player and a Blu-ray copy of Superman sitting there. That was a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Reason I'm down there.
Yeah, it's not a film you need to see more than once.
No.
But yeah.
No desire to.
Actually, Boz, I recently heard of a website, and I can't remember if I've got the name right or not, but it's something along the lines of "Did the dog die?" And it essentially it's a list of movies that involve dogs and whether or not the dog survives the film.
Brilliant. I need that. I'm going to put it on my phone.
Yeah. However, the dog did not survive Alien 3. So let's talk about Aliens, shall we?
Did it? Dun,
Or
dun,
did
dun. And it does the dog die, just so you know. I just
is it does the dog
yeah,
die? Okay.
Does the dog die. Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant. They are
Nice
genius.
segue.
Don't see I Am Legend.
Oh, too late.
Don't watch the alternative ending of I Am Legend.
Don't watch any of I Am Legend, actually. It's a pretty shit movie, but
The alternative ending sucks.
I have to give them credit for the way they handled the dog scene. I think it's rough. You've seen it, right?
Hudson.
I finished watching it the second. No, actually, no, I hadn't finished the film. Actually, I watched it at my dad's, and before the credits rolled, I had already texted Richard Smith to say, "Whatever you do not ever watch this movie." I was fucking furious. I was angry after I watched that movie. It upset me so much. I couldn't believe how much it upset me. Actually,
I actually saw it in the cinema. So paid money to see it. By the way, folks, just to give you a sort of an idea, it's 91 degrees in my office here because I don't have air conditioning out here, and it's 3:00 in the afternoon, whereas usually we record at night. And I'm drinking beer to stay cool, so I will probably become less coherent as things go on. Like I just called Boz because I'm looking at the word on my screen, and I think that's the first time I've ever said your name like that. So,
yeah, exactly. In fact, there's an embargo. There is a legal document that says on podcasting terms it's never allowed to be uttered in reference to me. So, Mike, if you could bleep the word whenever it's mentioned with something appropriate of your choice, that would be awesome. Thanks, Mike. So that's half an hour. We're going to talk about some fucking aliens or
Aliens, yes. Okay, 1979.
That's why we're here.
1979. Star Wars changed the landscape in 1977 of science fiction film, and suddenly studios started taking it seriously. And let's see, in 79 I was 10 in 74, so I would have been 15.
15. There you go.
And I had
old. Sorry.
No shit. Alien was the first R-rated film I was allowed to go see at the movies. And it was one of those situations where my friends had told me stuff they had heard happened in the film. And so I was expecting it to be a lot worse than it was. Not that it wasn't. I mean, there was some pretty horrible stuff happens in Alien. But I came out of the film, one, hating it because it had scared me so badly, and two, convinced every stomach ache was something trying to break out of my chest. And it took me years to get over that, to get over the fact that what I had seen, while pretty graphic and horrific, even by today's standards, was not as bad as what I was expecting to see. So anyway, after when I was younger, I had this tendency to, if something scared me, I would start learning all I could about it. Like Jaws totally fucked with me, so I started learning about sharks, and now I love them. I think sharks are awesome. And I picked up the paperback of Alien, the novelization, and I must have read that book 20 times.
I was going to say, where did you find the science book on xenomorphs?
And the book is really good. Alan Dean Foster, if I'm remembering right, did the novelization, and it's really, really good. And so now this was, of course, long before VCRs were available to the general public. So it was a good, let's see, if it came out in 79, at least 10 to 15 years before I could start watching it at will on VHS. But once I could, I've watched that movie to death, and I love it. It is, in my opinion, and I still remain unchanged, and I will debate anyone on this topic if they wish, the best example of pure science fiction cinema from the 20th century.
I don't think I'd
Granted,
ever argue with that.
There are other films that come close, but I think that Alien is it. You know, if someone said to me, "What is?" You know, I've never seen any science fiction movies. What would you consider the best one to show? I'd show them Alien.
I
Can't argue with that, but
I'd say with horror as well. It's a perfect example of a horror movie.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people dismiss it as, well, it's just the haunted house trope. You know, yes, it is, but you know, someone once said to me, "Well, you could replace the alien with a tiger, and you would have the same movie." And no, you wouldn't. No. Yes, you know, a tiger would kill people, but everybody knows what a tiger can do. Yeah. And that's the thing about Alien is nobody knew. You know, well, first of all, we'd never seen anything like that. Mm-hmm. And it was completely uncharted territory. Nobody knew what this monster could do. And Ridley Scott was brilliant. It was almost minimalist in its application, although the sets are gorgeous. And from, you know, everything I've learned about the filming of it, Ridley Scott is just a complete asshole to work for, but he makes great movies, or made great movies.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a masterpiece. It's a brilliant piece of cinema, and it's a brilliant piece of science fiction. And in my humble and unqualified opinion, it's a brilliant piece of horror. Goggsy, what's your take on it?
Oh, damn, you came to me first.
I just realized I've been talking since we started and not letting you guys get a word in edgewise. So.
That's okay. Going with my brief history on it, and the first time I watched it, I think it was on television, and I'm fairly sure it was one of those ITV movies, and where at the time it came on at 9 o'clock, which, if people remember back in the UK, a 9 o'clock movie on ITV meant it stopped at 10 o'clock for the 10 o'clock news, and you had to wait. You had to wait like 30 minutes, 35 minutes, or whatever for the national news, then the local news, and your freaking weather and all that crap. And you didn't pick up again until like 10:45 or something like that. So the first hour was a bit like, okay. I can't quite remember when the chestburster scene is, but I can't remember much being engrossed in it. But then I remember going, okay, I'll just keep watching it after the news, and being pretty freaked out and jumping a few kind of at the correct parts I was jumping at. The main one that comes to mind is the Tom Skerritt scene in the what do you want to call them? Air duct vents or whatever. Yes. That kind of famous scene scared the absolute crap out of me, so much so my mom had to come in and check that I was okay, because I'd made some weird noises. And then that was it. I kind of watched it and I was like, yeah, okay, that was fine. I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think it was the best movie in the world. And then I have to say that Alien was the first R-rated movie that you saw. Alien was the first X-rated movie that I saw.
What?
Yeah, the Cineworld Cinema in Edinburgh, or probably in the UK, used to do kind of showings of a famous movie on a Monday night or something like that. And one of them was an original print of Alien. So it had the original title card on it, and it was X-rated. It was X-rated. But I guess when it first came out in the UK, so it was not porn or anything, but it was an X rating, I guess, before
the 18 was come up.
Yeah. So it really sticks in my mind as being the first X-rated movie I've ever saw, or the only X-rated movie I've ever saw.
Yeah, well,
if you look at Giger's artwork, I guess it probably applies.
Yes. And that was probably that viewing in the cinema where I really appreciated it. Because I saw it on the big screen in the way it was intended to be seen, with an amazing surround sound system. And I don't hold the movie in the highest regard. Like, if I had to list my top 10 favorite movies or horror movies, it might not be in there. It might be in there. But I do love it. And when I sit down and watch it, I can appreciate it more and more for what it is. I love the slow boil, that it just takes its time. I love the fact the way the camera pans over everything and lets you see every single detail of the ship. And then when the shit really comes down to it, I love that you don't see anything. that just heightens everything to me, so that when you do see the alien, you're right, you don't know what it is, you don't know what to expect from it, you don't know what it can do, and then every time it does something next, like sheds its skin, or the little face pops out, or whatever, you're just, holy shit, how big can this thing get, or how vicious is this thing, oh my god, and you just don't know till right to the very end whether she's going to get away or not, and I just love that about it. But that's me.
How old were you when you saw it?
The first time? Probably 13, 14.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to think how old I must have been. I'm guessing 10 or 11 when I saw it. Maybe been a touch older, but it'd been on TV. Friend's brother had recorded it on VHS, and they got to watch this movie, and I knew nothing. I saw that. I saw this and RoboCop the same way, and both of those films freaked me out because they were the first times I'd ever seen that much blood, and first time I'd ever seen simulated human death in that way, I suppose. So I'd been fairly sheltered to that point, and I didn't know what I was watching. So the chest burster scene horrified me. Absolutely horrified me. I'm trying to think where this fits in with the American Werewolf in London thing, because I think possibly I'd seen that already. So I had a bit of a backbone for gore, I suppose. Yeah. So I went away quite disturbed, but it didn't take many years for that to turn into an absolute love of what that film did to me. And obviously the same scene in RoboCop where Ed 209 malfunctions and just that guy just there's so much blood. And it was just the sight of blood in those volumes is what upset me. And the weird thing is beyond the chest burster scene, I don't remember much else about Alien, other than the last bit. With when she's in the escape pod and all that kind of thing. I'd sort of blanked out the rest of it. So it was just like this traumatic event. And then I watched it some years afterwards, and similar to Gordon, actually saw it in its intended way, in a much better quality, and with an understanding of the horror genre. And I guess there's a difference, actually. I've always sort of viewed it as a horror film, not a sci-fi movie. And of course it's a sci-fi movie. But the bracket I've always held it in my brain is horror. So that's what makes this quite an interesting crossover, I suppose. But it stands up to date. It still looks good. The scares are just as good. The only bit I think that, and in fact, it was ridiculous back then, and that's why they took the piss out of it in Spaceballs, was the chest burster scene is absolutely horrific. But what broke the tension, and I think stopped me being completely messed up by it, was the stupid noise it makes with the clear synthesizer thing on its voice, and then the radio-controlled car across the tabletop.
Actually, you're giving it more credit than it deserves. It was just a little track, and they pulled it across with a string.
Yeah, okay. It never looked good. That scene was never convincing.
Yeah.
And it is laugh-worthy, and it's a shame because the horror it creates before that is so well done. But I needed that tension release the age I saw it. I may have just ended up, rocking backwards and forwards, sitting in the broom cupboard under the stairs, mumbling to myself if it hadn't been for that. So, but other than that, the film absolutely stands up. I think it's a fantastic piece of cinema.
Well, and here's a little. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just commenting on the noise of the thing, which is very strange. You wouldn't expect this alien to come out and squeak, but I only just put this two and two together when I was talking to you. And weird tangent aside, a couple of nights ago, I took the kids to play with baby tigers, and when the baby tigers came out and they started their roar, it was the weirdest, funniest squeak in the entire world that you would not expect a little tiger to be making a kind of noise. And it just kind of put me to think, well, maybe that's what all babies do. They just make this really high-pitched, squeaky noise. And then when they become older, they make them more ferocious thingy. So maybe they actually had it quite right. I don't know. Just a weird tangent I threw in there.
Yeah. Now, the myth about that scene is that none of the actors other than John Hurt knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not entirely true, because I've always found that hard to believe. And a couple Christmases ago, my wife got me a book called The Alien Vault, which is this gorgeous art book of behind the scenes from the making of Alien, and like lots of production stills and stuff like that. And it wasn't that they didn't know what was going to happen. Obviously, with that many special effects involved, they had to know what the setup was.
Yeah.
But what they didn't know was the extent to what it was going to be. They knew that of course they had to make a prosthetic of John Hurt's chest, and they knew that something was going to be coming out. But the fact that the blood was going to spray everywhere and that it was going to be so graphic and so realistic, that's the part they didn't know. And so like there's a shot of Angela Cartwright getting blood sprayed on her, and she just totally freaks out. That's real. They she wasn't expecting to get a bucket of blood in her face like that.
Yeah.
And so that's where the innovations came out. One thing Ridley Scott is famous for is just abusing the fuck out of his actors.
One way of doing it.
Yeah.
The thing is, you look at films like Blair Witch, and that was scary because the reactions of the cast, it was a similar thing. They knew a certain amount, but there was a certain amount they weren't told. And I think when it's a step beyond acting then, because you're playing to your natural instincts. You're playing it for the camera, but if you allow your natural fears to sort of drive what you're putting on camera, it's way more effective.
Yeah.
Whatever you say about that film, the performances, they hook me in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I diss Blair Witch a lot, but I think I give it more guff than it deserves. I left the theater going, what the fuck did I just watch? And it wasn't until I was halfway home that I realized what the last scene meant. And then it scared the shit out of me. And then I was like, oh, fuck. But I was pissed because the fact that I had to figure out what the ending meant, to me, was a reflection of the film being badly done. And I still, to some extent, think that. I think the reality of the film was mentioned at the beginning of the film by a character that you didn't know whether you should pay attention to or not, and so that ending scene, I had forgotten about that whole bit until, and I'm purposely being vague in case you haven't seen the Blair Witch. I don't want to spoil the ending for it.
No, we have.
Sorry.
You meant the listeners, didn't you? Sorry.
Yes, I meant the listeners.
Twat. I'll get my coat.
It was a side conversation that didn't seem pertinent to the primary plot of the film. And so that's why it took me a while to realize, oh, he was standing in the corner. I get it now.
Did you just say you didn't want to spoil the film? And then just went out?
That doesn't.
That doesn't spoil it, no.
No, I guess not.
Anyway.
And then the big monster came out of the wall and bit his head off in one munch, and that was... Anyway.
No, that's Alien 4. Oh.
Tangent.
How had you guys seen Aliens before you saw Alien by any chance?
Thankfully not.
Okay.
I don't think so, no.
Because, we had to wait more than 10 years for a sequel. Alien came out in 1979. Aliens came out in, 1985? Something like that? So that's not quite 10 years, is it? Hang on. 1986. Okay, so not quite 10 years. But at the time, now it's not necessarily unusual for a sequel to come out decades after the original film. But at the time, during the interim between Alien and Aliens, we kept getting, oh, there's going to be a sequel to Alien. No, there isn't. Oh, there's going to be a sequel. No, there isn't. Oh, and so by the time we heard about Aliens, we didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, been there, heard this. Oh, believe it when it comes out. And boy, did it come out. James Cameron took it and just, of course, again, we're talking pre-internet days, but, we're hearing somebody other than Ridley Scott is directing Aliens, which of course gave us a no feeling. James Cameron wasn't really a household name yet. Terminator was a fun movie, but it wasn't, it didn't tell us that anything would be better.
Yeah.
But of course, we were all there opening night. And I still remember seeing it in the movies. I bought the book, the novelization, before the movie came out because I didn't want to have a repeat of Alien. I didn't want to get scared so badly that I hated the movie. And so I read the book before the movie came out, which I can't imagine myself doing now. And it's still, My girlfriend at the time, who's a good friend of mine, Kathy, and will attest to this. We were like hurting each other. We were holding hands so hard at different points in the film, and there was a guy behind us who was freaking out through the whole movie. And if we weren't so scared, we would have been annoyed by this dude. But he was comic relief for us. Like when Newt finally ends up in the water. And the dude behind us, like, he's going like, "Oh man, now she's in the water. Why is she in the water? I can't take this." And of course, he was saying what we were thinking.
He just had no inner monologue.
No. But
we tend not to get people like that here, thankfully. It's certainly nothing I've ever experienced.
The genius of it was that Cameron didn't try to recreate Alien.
Yeah.
You know, he took the concept and went in a completely different. You know, I think Alien is one of the greatest horror sci-fi films ever. Aliens is one of the greatest action sci-fi movies ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's, of the whole entire chunk of all of the movies, it is and forever will be my favorite one, because I was so excited when I saw that film. Yeah.
I'll probably agree with that one.
I would hate to have to choose. Because they're so different. To me, they're equal.
Yeah.
I don't think Aliens is better than Alien. Aliens is certainly a hell of a lot more fun.
When you talk favorites, it's the one I want to watch a movie. Which of the two are you gonna stick in the DVD player? And it's, for me, it's Aliens every time. Special edition, of course.
Special edition.
It's fucking rock.
Yeah.
But it's the quotability of it. My entire school, secondary school life was like, game over, man. Game over. Assholes and elbows. I mean, we quoted that film endlessly.
Oh, I do too. You know, Marines, we are leaving.
Yes.
Did IQ suddenly drop while I was gone? It's an eminently quotable film. Brilliant piece of cinema, and it's one of those rare occasions where the director's cut is. I don't want to say it's better. I can certainly see why they cut out that 15 minutes of footage from when the alien ship is found on the colony on LV-426. If you listen to the director's commentary, both Gail Hurd and Jim Cameron talk about how painful that decision was, and yet how much it made sense. Yeah. Because at the time, you know, there was only so many. A film could only be so long. If they were going to get X number of viewings, because this was back before the multiplex. This was when, you know, maybe you had 4 screens in a cinema, and that was a lot. And so you wouldn't have 3 different auditoriums showing the same movie. And so it didn't matter how long a film was. You know, they had to stick to a certain length of film, and that whole section, the whole Hadley's Hope section, was so self-contained that they could take it out and not affect the film.
And the film works, I suppose, the first time you see it, I think it works better to not have Newt established anyway. So to have it released later as a director's cut makes me love it more, but it probably made it a better narrative not having it in the first place. Yeah.
It's hard to say. You know, now, are you guys old enough that you saw Aliens in the theater?
Nope.
Oh, sir, I saw Aliens on TV, Channel 4 this time.
You kids today, I tell you.
But
so yours was full of melon farmers, was it?
No, I think Channel 4 did good at that time. Okay. There were definitely parts that were cut and things, but there were proper cuss words in it. But I'm with the Admiral that I read the book first. Because I actually did a book report for my English class on Aliens.
Wicked.
Don't ask me why. I was in John Menzies at the time and picked a book and thought, hey, Aliens, this looks cool. I knew nothing about it. I knew about Alien. So I don't know if this was the book that the movie came from, or it came after the movie, or what. Because it had a few pictures from the movie in it. And the only thing I can really remember about the book is that, and I don't even know if this is true or not, but the only way that the aliens could move around and find everybody was because they could hear them. They can't see them, can't smell them, couldn't do any of that, but it was all done by hearing them. So in the book, if I remember right, and tell me if I'm wrong, because you might remember Admiral, this was a big thing. There was this part in the book where they had to move quietly just so they could get away from the alien.
I'm trying to remember. I just looked it up. It was Alan Dean Foster did Aliens as well.
Okay.
I didn't read that book as many times as I did Alien.
Okay.
That's not ringing a bell. Pardon the pun, ish. I don't recall that.
Okay. So I see. Maybe I'm making it up. I have no idea. I tend to make a lot of things up. But I know it was a big gap between me reading the book and watching the movie, so I couldn't quite remember much on it. But I definitely think that Aliens is one of my favorites, and probably I would put this in time and time again before watching the other ones. But I can see what the director's cut adds, but I prefer the original version. I don't need all that extra stuff in there, but that's just me.
It was all about the gun turrets for me. It's just fucking cool.
Yeah, that bit's really cool because that was in the book as well.
The autoguns were in the book. I guess it was a time thing too, and they could be cut without affecting the storyline. Yeah. And if you see the scenes of them, it's not like you're watching hundreds of xenomorphs being gunned down. You're just watching the guns go off.
Yeah.
So I could understand why they cut them. Yeah, they're cool as fuck. But those scenes don't necessarily add much to the movie.
But I think narratively though, it makes if you watch the original cut, you're like, damn, these aliens are clever. So you could take it one of two ways, because the fact that they're that clever that they're coming through the ceiling is terrifying, whereas the guns give it a reason for them to come through the ceiling.
Yeah.
So you could take that either way.
It didn't diminish them not being there. It had to be a rough call because, again, they spent probably quite a lot of time and money on shooting those scenes, and they had to cut them. I think James Cameron, more than many, really benefited from the DVD releases and showing the stuff, because his filmmaking is so meticulous and so detailed. A lot of times you watch deleted scenes in a film and it's like, yeah, I see why that was cut.
Yeah.
Or yeah, that didn't need to be there, or why did you bother writing that? Whereas James Cameron's stuff, it's always, that would have been so fucking cool.
Well, apparently I think it was one of the first. It was only Hicks, what's his bloody name? Michael Bain was talking about the scene where they get to the APC and the alien sticks his head through, and he sticks the shotgun in its mouth and pulls the trigger. Eat this. And he said it was such a frenetic thing because you've got a guy in a puppet costume. He's got to get his head through the door first time. We got to scrabble, get the gun in his face, get it in his mouth. And they were struggling to get the take done. And Cameron just said, okay, put the shotgun in his mouth, pull it back out, we'll reverse the footage. Now, having done video editing, I've used that technique, I can't tell you how many times. And sometimes it's just in getting the correct zoom. Because sometimes it's easier to zoom in smoothly than zoom back out smoothly, or you zoom out and there's something in shot that you didn't want there. So you shoot it the other way around, just flip the footage. And it's used all the time, so many times now. But it's like the way Bain talks about it, he'd never seen any director do that before. And he just said, matter of fact, yeah, we'll just flip the footage.
That's brilliant. Well, recently there was IO9. I love IO9. They're awesome. And one of their recent things they did was like top 10 movie moments that were ad libs that you didn't realize. And Game Over was an ad lib. That was not written. That was just Bill Paxton going, game over, man.
You do want to punch him halfway through the movie because you're getting sick of his bitching and whining. But
if ever I was glad to see a character get killed. And Bill Paxton dies so well in just about everything. I wonder if I'd love to see someone put together a Bill Paxton versus Sean Bean, who dies more.
I'll bet that exists.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's great stories about the loader that Sigourney Weaver drives, and fights the Queen Alien with, was just a British bodybuilder inside the thing with some wire work. And she tells this great story on the director's commentary of one day the guy had this really twisted sense of humor, and she was essentially sitting on his lap, He was inside this plastic outfit, and he put a little balloon underneath her because she was essentially sitting on his crotch. And he put this balloon underneath her, and he had this little squeeze bulb one day. And she didn't know it was there. And as they're working along, he's pumping up this balloon.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I highly recommend the director's commentary on Aliens, folks.
Fantastic.
Because it's not just James Cameron. It's Cameron, and it's Sigourney Weaver, and it's Michael Biehn, and the girl who plays Vasquez, who she's a good Jewish girl, which I found hilarious. She was also in Terminator 2, T2. She was John Connor's foster mom.
Was she?
Oh,
Yeah.
I never spotted that. Interesting. I love Vasquez.
Yeah.
Just nails. Absolute nails.
You ever been mistaken for a man?
No, have you?
And
Look
then,
into my eye.
yeah, just the casting for Aliens was brilliant. It was not a bad performance in the film, and the ending was just triumphant.
Yes.
And then Alien 3 came out
Yes.
and pissed on the entire thing. And again, we're talking pre-internet days, but still, the whole okay, folks, we're going to be spoiling if we haven't already. If you aren't familiar with Alien 3,
Don't sweat it.
yeah, all of the victories of Alien 2 are shit on and dumped out the airlock before the movie even starts.
Yep.
Because they didn't want to pay Michael Biehn and Carrie Henn to appear in another film, so they killed them before the movie even began.
Yep.
And
is that because Weaver wanted so much money?
Not that I'm aware of.
She wanted a lot of money, though.
Yeah, at this point, she had kind of...
And if the story's true, she wanted an extra $1 million to shave her head.
Yeah.
Well, I would.
I'd pay $1 million to shave her head.
No, you cannot use a bastard sword to do it.
I don't know. I don't think it's fair to blame Sigourney Weaver for that.
Who would you blame?
The director.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is, in Alien 3, the Sulaco ends up going off course and crashing on a planet. And no. Okay. Have you watched it more recently?
I just watched it today.
Do tell, please.
Because the reason I watched it, people, is because for years I have been trying to get the Admiral to find the director's cut of Alien 3. So I watched the director's cut of Alien 3 today so as I could get this straight in my head so we could do a this is good, this is bad comparison.
Okay.
Because it is like watching a completely different movie. And this is why I was curious as to who you blamed for things. Because from what I understand, Fincher got fucked by Fox over this.
Okay.
But maybe I'm misunderstanding a lot of things, but I believe Fox just shat all over him. Please, people, correct me if I'm wrong. Email thelittlepotofhorrors@gmail.com, starbase66@gmail.com. It's the Sulaco ejects the pod that they're in. So the Sulaco still goes about its orbit or its path, whatever, but it ejects the pod where Ripley and Hicks and Newt are in it because there's a fire. Something has started a fire. And it ejects the pod, and the pod crash lands on the planet. So the Sulaco still survives somewhere out there in the alien universe.
Okay.
Probably picked up by the network.
Now, there is one thing that I keep forgetting that I have to acknowledge, and that is if you watch Aliens and stay through the end of the credits, at the very end, after the credits are over, the credits end, the screen goes to black, and then you hear the sound of a facehugger scrabbling around on the floor.
Really?
Oh, really?
How did I never know that?
I didn't know that either.
So part of my problem with Alien 3 started in Alien 2.
Because it was leaving itself open.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I can understand why it would to leave itself open.
Yeah. But again, if there had been a reason to kill Hicks and Newt other than simply financial reasons, I'd have been down with it. But and I am dredging up stories that I heard 20 years ago. When did Alien 3 come out? 80?
Alien 3 came out in 92.
88.
Oh, 92.
92. There was a big gap between the two of them.
Yeah.
Original budget was 45 million, and 5.5 of that was Sigourney Weaver's fee, which included a bonus of 40,000 for cutting her hair.
Oh, is it for it? Okay, so maybe it's $100,000.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
still a chunk of change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Although I kind of can't blame her because women have been traditionally screwed when it comes to to anything, but with movies. But yeah, she wanted to sleep with an alien in Alien 2, and Cameron said, "Yeah, sure, no problem," and then didn't do it. So, yeah, I don't know. There were a lot of things in Alien 3 that just. Up until that point, there had been no indication that there was genetic intermixing between the alien and its host. And then suddenly we had dog aliens and the dog alien, I guess, was the main thing.
See, I loved that. That was the one thing I did like about Alien 3, because it opened up a whole new, what if they come across a completely different species, like Predator, for example.
Yeah.
And the possibilities, and it really makes sense that a being like that would have that ability, genetically speaking. I thought that was cool. Thing with Alien 3, when I saw it, crushingly disappointed, but I hated the tone of it. It was too dark and scrungy, and after the action roller coaster brilliance of Aliens, I've never seen it since. I saw it pretty soon after it came out, I think. Watched it once, and I've never gone back. Never.
Well, I rewatched it for the show that Gordon and Andrew and I did. So we're talking probably 5 years ago.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. And rewatching it wasn't any better. And I couldn't find the director's cut. And yeah, that's exactly my problem. Is it's a weak story. Notwithstanding that I was pissed that all of the triumphs from Aliens are flushed out before the film starts. She lands on a penal planet.
You said penal.
Penal. And then the story just makes no sense from there on. And I have to watch the director's cut. I will grant you that. But I remember that the story it holds together up to a point. And then it just falls apart. And then it's just people running and aliens swimming and Sigourney sleeps with the doctor.
You're mixing up 3 and 4.
Oh,
yeah, don't piss on the 4 fire. No.
Wait, is the swimming in Alien 4?
We're getting to
Alien
that.
4. Yeah, we'll
getting
come
to
to that.
Okay. It just made no sense. It was badly edited, and I can totally believe that the director got screwed over because this was one of Fincher's first films, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
It
at this,
tits up, and they moved it from Pinewood back to LA to finish it.
yeah, it just was not a good film. If you don't know already, folks, Ripley dies at the end, but in kind of a stupid way. They bring Lance Henriksen in as the proto. I guess Bishop was a copy of him, which was stupid.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that will show up again.
Yes.
And I love Lance Henriksen. That's the thing that really pisses me off about this whole thing is I love Lance Henriksen. I think he was awesome in Aliens. He was awesome in Millennium. He was great in Terminator. He's a fantastic actor. But it just reeked of some Hollywood suit going, we need to get familiar faces in here. Who can we use? Well, Bishop was an android, so it's yeah.
I think we should
Move on.
cut its throat there.
Yeah.
It doesn't deserve any more breath, I think.
I'm going to stand up for the director's cut.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it's a completely different movie. Completely different. It's not just that they've gone in and put some deleted scenes in there to try and make the story gel a little bit better, or so because it's not hampered by financial reasons, so they can fit in a 2-hour window and they can get 9 screenings a day rather than 4 or whatever. These scenes were obviously intentionally shot and there was a cut made of it, and then I believe the studio went in and went, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, chop, 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 here you go, this is the one you're going to put out. Because these aren't scenes that are just added in with hokey effects. These are got, even the effects in Alien 3 are shit.
Yeah.
The CGI is god-awful, and
Really
somebody should have given them a little bit more money to make it a little bit more passable, because it's some of the worst effects ever. 70s movies have better effects than what's in this movie. It's really bad, and they really don't hold up to date. But from watching it, the director's cut again today, because I wanted to kind of refresh myself on it, and I started to watch the original before this, but never get a chance to finish it. Thanks, kids. There is no dog in the director's cut.
Interesting.
At all. It's an ox that they use. I don't know why they changed from an ox to a dog. Maybe people didn't know what an ox was. Or can go, what's that big cow thing? I'm not sure, but there's no dog in the director's cut at all. So it's an ox that happens.
Well, that already wins points for me then.
Yes, that's what I thought you'd like, that the fact that the dog definitely lives. So there's a lot more religion in the director's cut.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a kind of throwaway line in the theatrical release that just because these guys have found religion, they're still stone cold killers and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really go into it very much. I mean, there's a couple of prayers and things like that, but they spend a lot more time not discussing it, but just seeing some opening prayers and just seeing, okay, these guys have genuinely found this apocalyptic religion that they're sticking by. This is their code of conduct. This is their rules. And the leader, I can't remember the guy's name, unfortunately, in it. Charles Dutton, who plays Dylan. He's really the kind of leader. He's the preacher, I guess you could say. So when what he says goes, everybody will respect him, and they know he's not the supervisor or the warden or whatever, but he gets the most respect. So they spend a lot more time on that. They change the ending when Sigourney dies and the little alien pops out and she has to push it to hold it back in. That doesn't happen.
Oh.
You don't see that pop out.
Oh.
Well, because that was one thing, DNA mixing notwithstanding, whatever. In all of the Alien films up to this, from implantation of the embryo to chest bursting was maybe a day. And yet in Alien 3, she's been impregnated since before the crash.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know how much time passes in the film, but it seems like at least more than 2 days.
I think you're probably looking about 4 or 5 days maybe, because I think they say she was unconscious for a couple of days. So. And
then, you've got, she's falling into the molten steel, and then the alien pops out of her. And Jesus Christ, I hate this. Rather than, her being dead, she cradles the thing like an infant and then falls into the molten metal. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't happen in the director's cut. It's in there, and they talk about it. You can see more scenes of it going on, that she's not acting quite like herself. She knows it's in there, everything's wrong, but it's very well done. It's still the second worst of the bunch. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it kind of escalates it up there and puts it up really high. I mean, it's probably still only a kind of 4 or 5 star movie, but it does change the way you look at it, I think.
Okay.
Out of 10, just to qualify the stars there.
Yes, sorry. Out of 10.
Okay.
So if you haven't seen the director's cut and you can find it, then I would encourage you to have a watch. I don't think it will change things drastically for you, but you might see things a little bit differently. And for some reason, they changed the age of Newt.
They what?
Oh.
They changed the age of Newt for some reason. Because in the original version, they say she's 12 years old.
No.
But in the director's cut, they changed it to 10. And I have no idea why.
Okay.
It's a weird one. That just stood out for me when I saw it. I was like, hang on a second. I had to go back and check it. But yeah, it's weird. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Well, I think from an experimental point of view, it'd be good if I found the director's cut and I watched that next, then watch the old cut.
Yes.
Comparison, because it's been so. I mean, it's got to be over 20 years, isn't it? Well, my maths.
Oh yeah,
a long time.
Yeah. 22 years since it came out.
Yeah, that's about right then. So, we should do that.
Yeah,
I would recommend you watch it. Like I say, I don't think it's going to change anything for you. It's still a crappy movie, but it might open your eyes a little bit more to go, oh yeah, you know what? Mr. Fincher did get screwed over.
I will make a greater effort to try to find it and watch it, because you had me convinced the last time we talked about it, and then I just sort of didn't.
There's plenty of other movies out there to watch rather than going back and rewatching a bad movie.
Yeah, that's always the difficulty, isn't it? There's so many movies I have to see.
I would like to not hate Alien 3 as much as I do. So I'll see if I can. You know, I mean, it's like the Donner cut of Superman 2. Superman 2 is, I wouldn't call it a bad movie, but it's kind of just silly.
Yeah.
Whereas the Donner cut of it is brilliant.
Much better.
Much worth. Yeah. So, okay.
Hi, folks. Just a quick update here, and please forgive the scratchy nature of my voice. I have one of those lovely summer colds that makes life just so much worth living. Since recording this episode, I have seen Alien 3, the director's cut, at the insistence and generosity of Mr. Goggs, who, metaphorically speaking, tied me to a chair, pried my eyes open, and forced me to watch the movie. And boy, am I glad he did, because everything he said about this movie is absolutely correct. It's like they shot 2 films and then released the shittier one for some reason. You know, the basic stuff at the beginning that pissed me off with Newton and Hicks being dead from at the get-go is still there, but it's handled a whole lot better. You know, it still pisses me off that that's what they did. How they started things, but it's a good movie. You know, the theatrical cut, not only does it start off, you know, by shitting all over the end of Aliens, but then the rest of the film is just crap. So it's not like it's worth watching for the story. This one is. Get the director's cut, folks. If you've never seen it, have no desire to see it. If you chalk Alien 3 up into your I just pretend this never happened category, please get your hands on Alien 3, the special edition. It's on Amazon. That's how I just watched it. It's like $2.99 to rent in low D, like $4.99 HD. It's not that expensive. Check it out. You won't be sorry. All right, Goggs, thanks. And we now return you to our regularly scheduled program.
You know, it occurred to me at 11 o'clock this morning that I should have watched Alien 4 before we started this. Of course, I didn't have time to do that today. So I went online, and I looked up a synopsis of Alien 4, because I've only seen it the one time when I saw it in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And after reading the synopsis, I'm glad I didn't watch it again.
Boo.
Did you like it?
Out of the original 4 movies, it's number 3.
I'll give you that. I don't hate it as much as I do Alien 3.
You see, when Gordon said that Alien 3 is the second worst of the lot, I totally agree.
4 was...
It's the worst one is Aliens versus Predator.
Well, okay, yeah. That's a whole...
Oh, I didn't even think about those ones.
I enjoy... okay, let's get the Aliens versus Predator stuff out of the way. I enjoyed them just for the aliens fighting predators. I didn't need the human stories at all.
Yeah.
You know, to me, they were a Godzilla film, or Godzilla films. You know, I went to see aliens fighting predators, and the fact that they decided to put people in there to make the story relatable to other people, I couldn't care less. If they had been 90 minutes of just aliens fighting predators with no plot, I'd have been happy.
No, but you see, they're the bits that piss me off in Aliens versus Predator, because they got the dynamic between the 2 species completely wrong. The balance was wrong.
Yeah.
I hate that movie the most because it is the least respectful to either franchise.
Yeah.
And I will never forgive them for that. Aliens versus Predator Requiem is a love letter to both.
It's a much better movie than the first one.
I get shit for saying this, but when you look at the approach they take to the monsters, how they behave, what they do, okay, the gestation period is always a question mark. Always.
Yeah.
In all the films, it goes from here to there, but it's never more ridiculous than it is in Aliens versus Predator. Because it's like, oh, that was like 10 minutes. Well done. The fuck did you do that? They must have had accelerated embryo growth hormone. I don't know. But so I mean, that pissed me off. But I mean, the predators behave exactly as they should in Requiem, and the aliens are doing what they do. Okay, the Pred aliens are a bit stupid, but you've got the sound effects are all on. You've got the music from the Predator movies. These guys have watched both franchises, loved them, and you know, got the chance to make this film, and they did the best they could with what they had, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. when I first saw it.
So anyway, Alien 4. We're, what, 100, 200 years in the future from Alien 3. And for some reason, this scientific ship has decided they need to clone aliens. And
Sorry.
yeah.
Just continuing Burke's work.
They are the ultimate killing machine.
Yeah.
And I remember my biggest disappointment with it was that they finally got around to the mankind is the worst monster in the universe plot line or moral. You know, they've cloned Ripley and now she's some super human alien hybrid, which I can certainly understand Sigourney Weaver wanting that.
Yeah.
At this point, I think we've seen that sometimes when an actor becomes too powerful, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yep.
Because when they announced Alien 4, first of all, rather than going, yay, we were all like, oh, Christ. And then when they said Sigourney Weaver was in it, we were like, oh, shit. Now, you guys are certainly old enough to have seen this one in the movies, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I went to the movies and fell asleep. I lasted about halfway, I think, and fell asleep and woke up about 2 minutes towards the end.
97.
Then you cannot comment.
No, I cannot comment on it at all. And I know I have tried to rewatch it since, and I can't remember anything about it other than the beginning again, so maybe I fell asleep.
Now, I will grant you, at this point, I still liked Winona Ryder. She hadn't stepped off into the crazy train yet. So I was kind of jazzed that she was in the film. You know, yeah, she's nuts, but a lot of times talent and crazy go hand in hand. And I enjoyed her role in the film. And we had Ron Perlman, who's always fun to watch.
Yeah.
But Sigourney Weaver finally got her wish, and she got to fuck an alien. And I've never understood.
Really? Doesn't really.
Kinda. You know, there's this scene where she's kind of writhing around with two of them, which was even weirder. I don't know.
The writhing around thing, she was more, it was her baby. That's how I saw that scene. It wasn't anything creepy. But I certainly didn't see it that way.
It's been so long since I watched it. I remember that the scene was vague enough that it could be taken one way or another. And it was big news at the time that Sigourney Weaver had made it very, very public that she wanted Ripley to sleep with an alien.
Oh, okay then.
And
I'll shut up.
You know, at the time it seemed like, what? And over the years, as I've studied the Alien franchise and because I'm a fucking nerd, that's why I do a podcast about this shit. You know, I found out she was talking to Jim Cameron about this stuff in Alien 2, in Aliens. She thought, wouldn't it be great if Ripley slept with an alien? And Cameron was like, yeah, sure. We'll get right on that.
Weirdo.
Yeah.
Man, Ghostbusters really fucked you up. It's Vigo.
Oh, God. Yeah, Alien 4, I just, you know, especially when they're showing all of the failed Ripley clones, and the fact that Brad Dourif was in it, who I love Brad Dourif, he's awesome, but when he shows up in a major motion picture, it's kind of a sign that the franchise has gone to shit.
Is he the guy who's in The Crow with the long hair? The bad guy?
No. He was in Exorcist 3. He was
Wormtail in Lord of the Rings.
He was Wormtail in Lord of the Rings. He was Ensign Suitor in Voyager. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's really creepy.
Just starts waxing lyrical and poetic about aliens and he's your baby. Yeah. Okay. Right.
You know, he's a great character actor, but he's not the sign of quality in your movie. And then there was the whole baby thing and it being sucked out of a half-inch hole and.
Yes.
You know, I'll grant you that explosive decompression is a trope in movies and you need to accept it. But, you know, 15 pounds per square inch isn't that much. It's not going to suck somebody, you know, a monster completely out of a half-inch hole in the hull.
Which has a sort of slightly armored carapace anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
It must have really thick skin.
Yeah, I can't find anything redeemable about Alien 4.
It probably just got a really bad blood blister.
Yeah. Ow, stop. Ow, stop.
Okay, can I wade in on Alien 4?
Please do.
Fucking love Alien 4. Because I was so up for a new film, and Rob Perlman turns up with the blood pack from Blade 2. So it's the whole crew of mercenaries thing, the guy with the cool wheelchair that turns into a gun. Sigourney Weaver just chews the scenery, and the fact that she's so badass, the bit with the basketball scene where she decks everybody and her acid blood, and I even like the little twist with Winona Ryder and the stupid swimming aliens, and there's not a dull moment in that movie. It's a stupid action roller coaster. And yeah, you come out and you go, well, that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen, that wouldn't happen. It's a freaking alien movie. None of it would happen. So for an absolute take your brain out, leave it at the door, chew popcorn movie, I've always enjoyed seeing it, and I've seen it 3 or 4 times probably. It does lose its way at the end where it goes all weird and creepy, but I kind of like the monster hybrid thing at the end as well. So I don't know. I'm just easily pleased, I guess. But it's certainly not the worst if you count the Aliens versus Predator films.
Yeah, I guess the fact that Alien, if you look at Alien and then Aliens, and you go, these are 2 of the best examples of their genres ever.
Mm.
And then you get to Alien 4, where, as you said, it's a silly, stupid popcorn movie, and you turn off your brain and have fun.
Mm.
It grates.
Yeah.
It's like Jefferson Airplane, and then compare that to Starship.
Lost me there.
I lost you both. I'm sorry. Okay, Jefferson Airplane was a band in the 60s, White Rabbit, Don't You Want Somebody to Love, Grace Slick, awesome music. And then in the 80s, they became Jefferson Starship. And then they became Starship and releasing stupid shit like We Built This City on Rock and Roll.
Ah, you see, now I love that stuff.
Ah, okay.
That's one of my favorite songs ever. Sorry, I'm not helping, am I?
No. That's okay. Well, are you familiar with the song White Rabbit?
Nope.
One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small.
Nope.
Go ask Alice. Does that make
Nope.
it? Never mind.
It sounds like something to do with Alice in Wonderland.
It is.
Or the Matrix. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you've probably heard the song, and the fact that it was recorded by the same quote unquote band that released "We Built This City" on Rock and Roll would. All right, never mind. I'm
sorry.
old.
Might find an appropriate sound effect to put in there.
Well,
yeah, I think 3 and 4 are definitely the worst.
Yeah.
If you take the first 4, but I would say 3 is the worst.
Yeah.
4 comes above 3 for me. Sorry.
4 was fun. I remember enjoying it, just kind of being sad for it. And the 2 Alien versus Predator movies, it's kind of hard to include them in the I guess they have to be part of the Pantheon? Franchise. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Well, Goggs, you didn't say much about Alien 4.
No, because I really haven't watched it.
Okay.
I am going to watch it now, but when you guys have been talking, and I have been listening to almost everything you said, I have been reading up on some trivia of it. Okay.
Oh.
First of all, I didn't realize Joss Whedon was involved in this.
Was he?
Yes.
Well, he wrote the original screenplay, and then it got butchered.
Yes, which is what I've been reading. And I'm really interested to see what his original screenplay was, because apparently it was a lot more written in the vein of the crew, but a bit more Firefly-esque, which has been quite interesting. Notice that this movie is the only one not to be shot in England because a certain co-producer, Sigourney Weaver, didn't want to travel, so they moved the location for her. There is a certain scene to do with the newborn or whatever it is, to do with the sexual nature of it, that the studio didn't like and wanted to cut. Miss Weaver said that she would not promote the movie if they cut it, so they put it back in the movie.
She's into some kinky shit.
So there's obviously, again, like you said, there's a lot of power that she had over this particular movie, and getting paid $11 million to do it's not a bad thing either. Again, it's very interesting. There's a lot of people kind of changing things from what it originally might have been.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is obviously none of this might be true because it's just on the internet, so you can never believe anything you see on the internet. But it was the original idea for the movie was that Newt was going to be the one that cloned, not Ripley. But then when Sigourney Weaver decided to come back on board, they changed it to her. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
So, but I'm going to go back and watch. I do have it. I just can't remember much on it, but I will go back and watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely a better film than Alien 3, but it's just kind of sad the depths the franchise dipped to.
Yeah, they're just trying to get more money. Just milk that cow for everything it's worth.
So do we want to talk about Prometheus at all?
No.
I haven't watched it. I want to watch it, and it's one of those ones that everyone's saying bad things about it. So I always go pick a different movie.
They're talking about a sequel now, and the thing is, Prometheus was originally going to be a prequel to the Alien franchise. Mm-hmm. And Ridley Scott was working on it as a prequel. And then for some reason, and I've never found why, they brought Damon Lindelof in. Now, Lindelof was one of the writers on the first two J.J. Abrams Star Trek films. He was also one of the writers on Lost. Mm-hmm. He's a hack, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he was one of the reasons why Prometheus was changed from a direct prequel to something that vaguely resembled the Alien universe, but wasn't exactly it.
Okay.
Now, that wasn't all of that was wrong with Prometheus. A lot of what was wrong with Prometheus was that the character was stupid. They did not have any sort of internal consistency. For scientists, they were all a bunch of idiots. But you had the space jockeys, which were straight from Alien. You had the ships that looked like the ship from Alien and Aliens.
Yep.
The space jockeys were portrayed as these giant albino, hairless, they call them the engineers.
Okay.
That were supposed to be identical to humans DNA-wise, and yet they were 10 feet tall and they're kind of stupid.
Hey, dude, read the Old Testament. 910 feet tall. It's all in there.
Ah, okay. And I don't know if it's just that Ridley Scott is just too damn old, or to stand up for himself anymore. But just Prometheus was a mess, and I keep hearing people saying that there were deleted scenes that made the movie made sense, and it doesn't matter. It wasn't a matter of deleted scenes. It was a matter of the film just made no sense. The characters were stupid. There were all of a sudden this one dude's a zombie, and
that's what I couldn't work out. If you've got a genetic structure to everything in the franchise up to this point,
yeah,
how things work, that begets that, and we understand that. And Prometheus finished, and my friend Drew, I went to watch it with, turned to me and he's looked at me and went, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I went, duh, because it just finished, and I am terrible at just going along for the ride. And let's face it, it looked amazing. It was very well shot, and
it was beautiful.
Yeah, and there's some cool bits towards the end, and so I was sort of on that little bit of a high, and then I turned to him and said, "Yeah, because no, hold on, doesn't make sense."
Yeah, hey, Charlize Theron, turn left or right,
exactly. It's like a car rolling down the hill towards you. Buildings either side. Just step into somebody's porch.
Yeah. One step either way, you're fine.
That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, they've greenlit a sequel, and there's some talk now. A couple weeks back, for those of you listening to this on the Starbase 66 feed, I interviewed Andy Weir, the author of The Martian, which is an awesome book, and I strongly recommend you read it.
Awesome.
Yeah. It has been optioned for a film, and right now the buzz is that Ridley Scott is going to direct it and that Matt Damon is going to star in it.
Matt Damon. Sorry. It's law, you have to.
And the buzz is that Scott wants to direct this film so much that maybe someone else will direct Prometheus 2.
Ooh.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I will say that it will take a lot of you all out there telling me how awesome Prometheus 2 is for me to get off my ass and go see it, because Prometheus was so bad. And Prometheus was so disappointing. Not even just that it was bad, but it was, here's a film we've been looking forward to for 30 years now, and it was shit.
But we didn't need it.
No. Any more than we needed to see 11-year-old Anakin Skywalker. Sometimes you just don't need to know where shit comes from.
Pretty true.
Yeah. See, I might watch if it comes on Netflix just to say I've seen it, or just so I can have an opinion for myself. But I've got no enthusiasm for watching it after hearing everyone's kind of negativity towards it. So,
I would suggest you haven't seen Prometheus, right?
No.
Okay. I would. Yeah. If you can see it without having to pay any extra money for it.
Yeah.
Definitely see it. It's like we said, it's visually stunning.
Yeah.
Scott still has it when it comes to putting together a pretty movie.
Yeah.
But the story is just shit. It's absolute garbage.
Yeah, baffling. But I'm the asshole who'll go and see the next one when it comes out. Like, I'm going to be the asshole who goes to see the next Transformers movie.
Oh, I've heard nothing good about that.
Is it out there? Is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One of my former students posted yesterday that she went to see Transformers 4 and slept through most of it.
You can't sleep through that, can you?
Oh yeah.
See, I was like, no, he can't get it more wrong than he did with the last one. It isn't actually possible. It has to be better than that.
Nope.
It has to be better than that.
Not if what I've been seeing on Facebook is to be believed. It's actually worse.
It can't be. Oh, the last one. I know it's not horror related, but the last one was awful. It was racist and it was.
See, I
came
didn't
out of the
see
cinema
3.
angry.
I didn't
I
bother
can
with
make
3. I saw
yeah.
one. My wife is of the age where Transformers was. I'm too old for Transformers. When Transformers came out, I was like, "Are you seriously kidding me? A cartoon series based on a toy line?" So I never watched it. But when the movie came out, that's her era, and she wanted to see it. And I was like, giant robots fighting couldn't suck, and it was fun. And back then, before she had all the work done, Morgan Fox was hot. Is that her name, Morgan Fox? No, Megan Fox. Then Transformers 2 came out, and once again, we got a sitter and went to see it in the movies, and I was bored. And I'm like, if giant robots fighting is boring, something's really wrong. We didn't see 3, and I couldn't give 2 shits about 4.
But yeah, okay. So to put this in text for me, I've got a little box of comics next to my bed, which is my old Transformers comics, and some of my favorite ones have me, Grimlock, in them, and Grimlock is the Transformer version of me. Door not open. Smash door. So it's like, if you're going to put him in the movie, I've got to go and see it. And I hate myself for it. And I was so fucking angry when I came out of Transformers 3. In fact, I can't remember, it may have been Audio Boo back then, but we actually saw it in Glasgow. Me and Lavinia went to see it, and we came out, we got in the van, she said, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm recording my hate. And I did a review or an audio boot or something, and I just ripped it a fucking new one. 10 seconds after coming out the door of the cinema, I was that angry. And I'm going to put myself through that again. So if any schmuck is going to go and see the next Prometheus movie and pay top dollar at the cinema to do it, I'm the asshole. There we are.
Well, you know what? 15 years ago, I would have been you. Unfortunately, going to the cinema requires either taking a day off from work, if it's not a summer blockbuster, or paying a shitload of money for babysitters. So I have to be very, very picky about what I see at the movies now. And if I looked, it's not out. I guess it's still in the theaters. I looked to see if it's out for rental, and it's not yet. I hadn't even heard of it till you mentioned it. That's how out of touch I am with films. So if I actually take the time and spend the money to go see a movie and it sucks, I'm especially pissed.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I watched Bay's last offering, because I'd heard terrible reviews about it. But I actually watched Pain and Gain.
Oh, you didn't, did you?
I've never heard of it.
Mark Kermode will come and find you.
Do you know what? After what Kermode said about how nasty and scrungy and everything else it was, I actually, because there were mixed reviews on that, people writing in what they thought, and then maybe my sensibilities are, I don't know, dulled, I suppose, overexposure to horrific things. But I didn't think that it glorified the people and the things that they did at all. I think it was just, look at how fucking stupid these people were. It's funny. Okay, I suppose the argument was it wasn't funny for the victims involved.
What's it about? I've never heard of it.
A bunch of dumbass weightlifters who decide they want a better life. And basically try to take a guy's money and then try and kill him and can't. So it does... It is bad because they did end up actually managing to kill a couple of people. But they're kind of portrayed as accidents. I've been led to believe it was really disrespectful to the real victims involved, and to a point it could have been, but I didn't think that the movie was glorifying what they'd done.
Wait, Michael Bay tried to make a real movie?
Yeah, and it's very Michael Bay, and it has I'm going to focus the camera on your left nostril from underneath and then circle around you, keeping the focus point there far too much, which is his trademark bullshit. But I did find it genuinely quite entertaining. So I'm going to hell, clearly. Sorry. But the Bayification of it didn't destroy it for me. So there's hope yet. If you could just stop. What I would love to do, right? I've done a little bit of work on films. If I could just grow a big Fu Manchu moustache, sneak onto his film crew, and then when he's not looking, steal every single piece of dolly track and go, look, you got a steady cam and you've got a tripod and you've got a shoulder pad. Make fucking do. That's what I'd like to say to you, Michael Bay.
Well said, sir. Well said.
Boz, you've become a filmmaker. And that's awesome. That you are the person that I constantly see in the ads. That as a stage technician, I'm always looking for work, whether I've got a steady job or not. It's just kind of reflexive. And it stuns me how many filmmakers expect people to work for the joy of making movies.
Yeah.
And no other compensation. And you are their fucking wet dream, sir.
I am, aren't I? Because I will work for peanuts. Literally peanuts. So if you could include some bread and something to drink, that would be
maybe a beer or two.
Yeah.
As long as you love it, that's all that matters. Okay. So we're gonna have to wrap this up before my board bursts into flame because it's so fucking hot out here. So, guys, thank you very much for this crossover episode. I hope. Someone's typing.
Oh, you can hear that.
Yeah, see the typing.
You can see it,
folks. Speaking from the Simply Syndicated side of this crossover, please go check out simplysyndicated.com, where you can hear all the other shows that Simply Syndicated does, where you can hear shows like Movies You Can See, Make It So, Time of Trivia War 9000, Nerd Hurdles, Masters of None, Tech It or Leave It, Do Ask, Do Tell, etc., etc. It's all there. Check out Simply Everything. It's a subscribing kind of streaming thing, kind of like Netflix or podcast, where you can hear everything Simply Syndicated has ever done, including, I would imagine,
Here Goes Nothing?
Oh, Christ, I just suddenly blanked on the show. Here Goes Nothing!
You can't get Here Goes Nothing anymore because SoundCloud shut us down because we haven't released anything new. So
I have no idea what he's saying. And of course, the magnificent, the wonderful, the incomparable, The Little Pot of Horrors. Please listen to their show. It's awesome. As you all know, I am not a fan of horror, but they are turning me into one.
Yep.
So, guys, I can't hear a word you're saying. I can see you're talking, but I can't hear it. I think.
Gordon, we can say anything we like about him right now and get away with it.
So,
we could.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
Thank you so much. Hopefully,
he's too nice a person. I can't say anything.
I play the
Rick, don't
audio
touch me there.
that I'm recording. But
get off
right now.
That's inappropriate.
I obviously can because I can see the bars moving.
Yes, it is that big.
And he did forget for those about to rock. I have to say, they'll never let him down off for that one. So
if hang on. Gordon, say something.
Hello.
Okay, good. Yeah. The Skype and Boz, say something.
I want to have your babies.
Okay. Yeah. The Skype recorder can hear you, even though I can't. I don't know what the hell's going on. But so thanks, guys.
Times like this, I wish I was a
enjoyed
funnier
talking
person.
to you. I guess it's my turn for the equipment to go to shit, and
Okay.
I guess
This
we'll
is
talk
weird.
again really soon. Take care and bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Thank you.
Good luck sorting this shit out, Mike. Honestly.
Oh, sorry, boss. Oh no. I feel bad. Oh,
He's just gonna wait till it comes out to find out. That's the beauty of it.
oh.
If you would like to send an email to the show, please do so at thelittlepodofhorrors@gmail.com. Also, why not go along to the website at www.thelittlepodofhorrors.com, and from there you can find links to our Twitter, Facebook, Google+, forum and blog page. Thanks for listening.